Welcome to the 6th tutorial for the VEMBU. Today we will cover how to edit records. Open your copy of the VEMBU. On the left-hand side under Forms, go ahead and select Edit Receiver Records. A new tab opens. There's lots of reasons why you might need to edit records. Sometimes the wrong receiver number was written down, or realize you put in the wrong date, or perhaps you just want to go back and add some information to the current records. But no worries, because we can do that here. This list shows complete records, those that have a deployment and a retrieval. There was only one complete record that we have in the example thus far. If you want to edit incomplete records, or those that just have deployments, you can select this button. In the last tutorial, I explained we can go back and add in some information from the VRL event log. Let's go ahead and do that. Even incomplete records come in two parts, but they're on the same line. At the start of the deployment part, there is a unique ID, or this blue hyperlink, and it's the same for the retrieval information that's associated with it. We are going to go ahead and open the retrieval portion of this record. The pop-up window appears with all the information that you had previously, or I guess that I had previously entered. In this example, we're going to go ahead and add in the date stopped recording, the file name, pings, syncs, numbers of detections, and rejects. Perhaps it's one of those cloudy non-filled days and now you have time to go back in and put in the information. The file name is useful for knowing what file is associated with what records. When we go over the forms, I will show you how the file name is printed for each record. When you upload data to the fact node, all you have to do is drag and drop all the file names you see, making it easy. You can get the file names in a couple of different ways. You can read this off of wherever you download the receivers originally to, or perhaps from your view database, whatever works easiest for you. Like I said before, the pings, syncs, numbers of detections, and rejects can be gathered from your event log. You can do this a couple different ways by summing all of your daily versions of this along with your partial day, or at the very bottom it will have the study number of syncs. I'm just going to use numbers from one of our actual files. I'll talk a little bit more in the queries and how you can use this type of information. But again, this is just for the entire study period of when that receiver was in the water. And when you are done, go ahead and select Save. If this error message comes up, just go ahead and press End. I don't know how to get it to silence. I want to show how to add some new information to these records, so I'm actually going to go back and add one more retrieval. Okay, like magic, I went ahead and put in a retrieval information for station BBBB. So for this next example, I'm going to show you how to enter information into the retrieval portion of a complete record. We're going to select the second record that I just put in for BBBB. Go ahead and open. And again, all the retrieval details appear. I can go ahead and fill in the file name, pings, and syncs. Okay, I went ahead and just made up numbers for the pings and syncs and numbers of detections for this make-believe file. Now, we have an entry here for date stopped recording, and you can see this in your event log. So, say for this example, you notice that the data was uploaded on 3/24, but everything else, see the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, and then there's a data gap. Something happened here where we do not have daily ping, syncs, and rejects. So I can enter this date, if it was this particular file, as a date that that receiver stopped recording. Maybe the receiver stopped recording due to a bad battery, maybe something happened, we just don't know. But since we don't have a time, we can enter the date that we know that it stopped recording. I'm just making this up. Since we are done, we'll hit Save and Close. All right, let's move on to editing partial records or incomplete records. So these would be records that just have deployments without retrievals. Go ahead and select the Edit Incomplete Records button. Now we only have one half, basically, of the line that we saw in the other tab. So these are receivers that are deployed currently that don't have retrieval information associated with them. Select this record, this first record, by clicking on the hyperlink in front of it. The deployment record opens. Perhaps you realized when you got back to the lab, the wrong receiver number was recorded as deployed. It happens. So we can change the receiver number. By going to the drop down, I'm going to realize that I should have written that 444 was deployed. Then we're going to click Save. All right, let's go ahead and head over to the queries and see how this changed everything. The first thing, let's just check back on what we just did with the editing incomplete records. So I changed a receiver that was deployed to 4444. So let's check out what deployed receivers we have right now. And there you go. It's automatically updated. So we had just edited this record to show that this is the receiver that is currently out. To double check the other way, you can look at on-shelf receivers. Again, we see originally we had written that it was receiver number 3 that was out. It got changed to 4, and it's been automatically updated. If you're interested in the health of your receivers, and this is part what we just put in the information with ping, syncs, and rejects, you can look at the ping sync history query. When you hover over it, which you cannot see now, but there is a citation for a paper that actually speaks about how to use a ratio in order to look at the level of noise around the receivers. Go ahead and select ping sync history. With this table, you could track the pings and syncs by station or receiver over time. You could look at the number of detections by receiver or over time. So say if you had a station and you wanted to look at it by station, look at the number of detections. If it seems to have some real strong dips when a particular receiver is there, you might know that there might be something going on with that receiver and you want to look at. I will stress that the pings, syncs, and rejects, these are all cumulative. If you're really wanting to look at noise around the receivers, this could kind of give you a hint if these things change or really vary, but you probably want to go in and actually look at daily syncs, pings, and rejects. So you can use this information in however you see fit, but it's nice to have this over the length of your study. Since we were just talking about receiver health in the ping sync history, there's another query that's related called receiver health if you want to go ahead and open it up. So in this query, we have the receiver number, and you would have one for each of your receivers. The number of deployments, or the receivers that have been deployed, the total number of days deployed, the date purchased, and your receiver age in years. So this is a nice way to look at, what are the age of your receivers, what are getting older, how many times has it actually been out into the water. You see we only have 2 receivers here because this is based on full and complete records. But this is a nice way to kind of keep a handle on how your receivers are doing as far as age and how much time they've spent in the water. All right, we can go ahead and close that. So I just showed you the pings and syncs, receiver health. That's what we did in entering the ping and sync history. But in one of the other records that we edited, we put in a date that it stopped recording before it was downloaded. If you're interested in seeing if there are any gaps in your array listening, if you're interested in looking for any gaps in your listening ability, you can look under these 2 queries here. Gaps in recording may happen for several reasons. Perhaps a receiver was retrieved, but another wasn't deployed because the attachment broke. It took a couple days to fabric a new one, or like the record we edited, the receiver stopped recording before it was downloaded. Either way, you don't have a piece of equipment listening at a station for a given period of time. This is really important if you're doing presence or absence analysis or really just about anything. So let's look at the stopped recording before download. So this would be a list of all instances where we had a stopped recording date that was before the download date and time. And this provides the gap of listening in a proportion of our percentage of months. The top query here, start and end recording, is a little bit more confusing, but here, let's go ahead and click and look at it. So this will end up being an entire list of when you started and ended recording at every station. This will get longer and longer. You could use this, you could export it to something like SAS and do a lag function, or R, whatever you're comfortable in, even Excel, and you could look at a lag function to see if there were any periods of time where there physically was not a receiver at that station. And if you notice, I just want to show you this time format is a little bit different. Well, that's because if you remember, we went in and edited and said that this receiver stopped recording, but we don't know the time that it stopped recording. Again, this is useful information that automatically is generated, and you could use it in any way you see fit. All right, we'll go ahead and close that out. And finally, let's go ahead and check the field data sheet. We can see again that this has been automatically updated, so you are good to go in the field with the most accurate information, even with records that were edited. Go ahead and close it. That's it for today. In the next tutorial, we will cover retiring stations and receivers. After all, we're in Florida, the retirement capital.